Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Post-fight review, Martin Bakole versus Igor Shevadzutskiy. So what we'll do, quickly go through the action and then a few thoughts, because what next for Martin Bakole, who stopped Igor Shevadzutskiy relatively comfortably in this fight inside 3 rounds. Shevadzutskiy had been pretty durable in his 10 fights before this one, but Martin Bakole's heavy hands did the damage, because you have to ask the question going forward, what is Boxer going to do with Martin Bakole? And it's a huge question. He's kind of been one of these high-risk, low-reward fighters who hadn't really been sort of attached to any promotion. Now he's with Boxer and Sky Sports, so Martin Bakole and some other fighters were put onto this card in Poland, which was headlined by Alan Babic and Lukas Rozansky. What can they do for him? Because this was the first fight in. It was against a somewhat unproven Shevadzutskiy, who has been sort of a B-, C+ sort of level prospect. But Shevadzutskiy is game, he's tough, he's durable, but he couldn't stand up to what Bakole had for him. So the first round, we'll just whip through this really quickly. Cautious first minute and a half from Bakole, who was just sort of tracking back, letting Shevadzutskiy press forward. As soon as Martin Bakole started to get his range in, he started to pop the jab in, looking for the uppercut, some looping hooks, and by the end of the round, he was the one that was pressing forward, having Shevadzutskiy on the back foot, and also Shevadzutskiy covering up more. Second round was where the real damage came in. Beautiful uppercut and left hook combination floors Shevadzutskiy. First time he'd been down in his career. He was badly hurt. He tried to sort of slug his way out, and Martin Bakole was more than happy to trade with him. Ultimately, after about 30 seconds of this, you had Shevadzutskiy catching the worst of it, and towards the end of the round, you know, the referee could have potentially jumped in, and I think if this fight had been in the UK, the referee probably would have jumped in and waved it off. So Shevadzutskiy looked pretty worse for wear at the end of the round, lucky to escape it, but he made round 3, and you had Martin Bakole bail him into the corner. He was letting his hands go, but nothing was really sort of catching Shevadzutskiy or anything like that, nothing telling. But the referee decides to jump in. He'd seen enough. Shevadzutskiy exclaimed surprised, but the fight was over. And it was all one-way traffic after round 1, or even after about the first minute and a half or 2 minutes of round 1. Martin Bakole, with that knockdown in the second round, it was all Bakole one-way traffic after that. So it's an okay win. I mean, it's not really the sort of fight that Bakole should have been in. Igor Shevadzutskiy, like I say, is an okay level prospect, but his best wins were Kamil Sokolowski and also Kevin Johnson, decision wins. He's a guy who's tough, durable, good high guard, but he doesn't have a lot of pop. So there was no real threat to Bakole in this one, and it was just how long was he going to take to break Shevadzutskiy down, because this is what he does. He is able to really put the hurt on and stop opponents in a lot of his fights. So I expected he was going to win and win well, but it was just a matter of when. And, you know, under 3 rounds in this one. So, you know, it is what it is. He gets some action, but what next? So after the fight, he actually called out Daniel Dubois and also Dillian Whyte. He said, "Be ready for me." Then he was asked about Alexander Usyk, stopping him and others in the gym, and he confirmed, yeah, I stopped Usyk in the gym. And he said, I want to fight him. I just want a big fight. And I guess that's the story of Martin Bakole's career in recent years. He's been facing a lot of tough, durable sort of guys for the most part that have sort of ticked him over with rounds and activity, but it's not really led to a whole lot, apart from the Tony Yoka fight, where he really showed his class, where he was able to absolutely beat up on Tony Yoka and dominate him. And that was certainly the best win of his career. But it really hasn't sort of led to much, and that's a real shame. And he is one of these guys, unfortunately, he doesn't have a huge fan base. His fighting style can be hugely exciting, but for some reason, he just hasn't sort of got those breaks that have led him to some of these big fights. Since he lost to Michael Hunter in 2018, he's basically redeemed himself. He's proved that he's ready for a huge fight. Just can't get it. And it's a real shame, but what can Boxer do for him? And while he calls out Dillian Whyte and also Daniel Dubois, you know, they're not going to face him. What for? Daniel Dubois is not even in the same stable. If he's with Sky and Boxer, it's just not going to happen. And Dillian Whyte is not going to face Martin Bakole because there's no money in it. And that's just a reality. And some of these guys just don't seem to see that. They'll make all these call-outs which are unrealistic, and they'll be like, these guys are ducking me. But also, in the same breath, you've got nothing for them. There is no bag of money. There is no belt. So it kind of is a tough situation for Bakole and his camp to be in. But now he's with Sky and Box, and maybe he'll get a little bit more of a push promotionally, and they can actually set him up in something meaningful. I mean, within the Boxer stable, there's Fraser Clark, probably too soon for Clark. He's sort of looking at a different level at this point. And you've got Hughie Fury, who knows when he's coming back to the ring, and I'm not sure that Fury would want to face Bakole anyway. They've sparred a lot of rounds in the gym, and that could end up sort of being one of those fights because they know each other so well that it ends up being a bit of a dud. But can they get someone like a Michael Hunter in for the rematch? Can they get an Otto Wallin? Can they get someone who is worth Martin Bakole's time? Because at the moment his career is slipping away and he's not getting the fights that he needs to be in. But they also need to be putting him in and positioning him for eliminators. That's the tried and true test if you can't get people to fight you. Lobby the sanctioning bodies, get some of those eliminators so then people cannot avoid you. And Martin Bakole has turned fights down before as well. He had the opportunity to face Filip Hrgović in the eliminator for the IBF. Turned it down, wanted to tune up first. That was his opportunity that he could have taken, and he let it slip away. That's been defended by Billy Nelson as, oh, well, he needed a fight beforehand, but you got to grab these opportunities. Look, Zhang Jilei fought Filip Hrgović, arguably won that fight, but he didn't. But then he gets another opportunity off the back of that good performance against Hrgović. He faces Joyce, and his career is just in this other stratosphere now, while you've got Martin Bakole on the outside looking in. So, to some degree, there's a little bit of mismanagement with his career, but in the same token, people clearly don't want to fight him because he's dangerous. He's powerful, and if he has been stopping guys in the gym, which he says he has, the likes of Alexander Usyk, guys are not going to voluntarily step up unless there's a reason to do so. So hopefully Boxer and Sky can actually give him some backing to make sure he's in a meaningful fight, because I think he deserves it. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.